My Gavan and Melonine, and well met indeed. I'm Adrian Galadith, head of the running team behind Divide and Conquer, and I'm just doing a quick addendum video to the Enedwaith overview because I forgot to talk about the Chariots and the Foresters of Haleth. I thought I might as well just do a 2-second video or something covering them for you, even though you could have worked out most of this information on your own. But that aside, the Foresters of Haleth are, of course, your greatest archer unit. They have a melee attack of 6, a missile attack of 5, and a charge of 2, with a total defense of 11. So their defense is atrocious. Their melee attack is a little better, but the missile attack of 5, of course, is not as good as human ranger units. But note, they are a ranger unit. And what they make up for over the others is an ability to hide anywhere, although most rangers can. Not all can, but some can. They have a 220 meter range, 32 missiles, and very high accuracy like most rangers. They are faster. They have the 10% boost like most of Enedwaith's roster. Good morale response. They require a forest region, though, so they only come from a forested region. I believe that what makes them stand out amongst other rangers, despite the fact they've got the lower missile, is I think they may have a slightly higher melee attack, if memory serves, but I could be wrong in that regard. But it doesn't really matter how they compare to other rangers, it matters how they compare to your roster, and they are the best archer units in your roster. And they're still relatively cheap for the tier that they're coming in at, but of course do note that they only come from the forest, so you've got to watch out for that. And they won't do very well if the enemy shoots back at them. Their stats are not very good at holding off against enemy archers. But in terms of actual archer damage and range and all of those kinds of things, they are your best archer by some way. And then lastly, the new unit indeed for version 4.5, the War Wagons. They are javelin-throwing chariot units for Enedwaith. And they are... It's difficult to describe how good they are, because chariots, it really comes down to how good you are. So they're skilled against mounts, which gives a bonus. They throw a javelin, as I say, with a missile attack of 11. Note the javelins are not armor-piercing in this case. They are just normal javelin throwers. They have a range of 85 meters with a very high accuracy. They get a bonus against all types of mounts. They have a movement speed bonus over other elephant-style units. So then don't compare them to horses. Compare them to elephants from the base game. Their total defense is 15, but they do get 2 hit points because they're a chariot. The melee attack is 8 and the charge is 7, which is relatively good. So they'll do relatively well once they finish with their javelins. They only come from a grassland region, and I don't think you need to unite Enedwaith to get them. I believe you can get them from the barracks event in the later stages. But they come from any grassland region, but you'll need to just read the green books to learn where they come from. They're not the best chariot, not by a long shot, but the javelins that they have does give them at least some sort of punching power. But like all javelins, they are best served running through an enemy rather than running at an enemy, as we shall see as we now charge them into Hinnydower of the Woodland Realm, who will be in next week's episode. I apologise that I forgot to cover them. I just didn't really think about it and didn't really see them. Now, if you do charge through an enemy unit, like we've done there, first of all, apparently your entire army dies to the arrow fire that the enemy does just before you get to them. But note, if you charge through the unit, you may come under pressure, and many of the units may stand up again. It's normally best to attack the unit and then run through once they've attacked. But they really aren't doing very well there, are they? But these ones are doing considerably better, but they're taking losses. Chariots take a lot of losses because they're really easy to hit. Also, Hinnydower are a fantastic archer unit, and they'll absolutely decimate them anyway, so that's not unexpected. But Chariots have a massive hitbox, and that's why we have to give them 2 hit points, and even then it doesn't really work. They're a difficult unit to use in Medieval 2, as is being shown here by them getting slaughtered, basically. So your best bet with these chariots is to keep them away from any enemy units until they finish with their javelins, and then charge them through the enemy like that, just to disrupt the enemy line. Even though, as you will note, most of them then stand up anyway, the disruption that it causes buys you time, and that's what chariots are good at. They've done relatively well against the other Hinnydower unit. I mean, they've done relatively well altogether, to be honest, but they've just taken a lot of losses in doing that. But anyway, there's the War Wagons. One other thing for Dunland, for Enedwaith, sorry, it's not absolutely crucial, but do note that if you capture Dunland's regions, you can train Dunlending troops. And it's just a small spattering of Dunlending troops. It's not all of their army, it's just a small grouping. You get them from all the Dunland regions, and it's just a part of uniting Enedwaith, really. So that's the addendum for Enedwaith. So thank you, and farewell.